The 2025-26 NFL season has been the best in a while, so today we're going to go through the season with everything that happened. In Week 1, the season kicked off with the Dallas Cowboys at the defending champions Philadelphia Eagles. The score would stay close between both teams, but the Eagles would win in the end. The next day, the Chiefs would play the Chargers in Rio de Janeiro, where the Chargers would win. The Colts would beat the Dolphins in a dominant game with new quarterback Daniel Jones. The Patriots, coming off a 4-13 season, would lose to a Raiders team with new quarterback Geno Smith. In a rivalry game, the Seahawks would lose to the 49ers 17-13. In the best game of the week, the Bills would come back against the Ravens, who had a 15-point lead at one point, winning 41-40. Week 2 kicked off with the Commanders at the Packers. It was an okay game, with Green Bay winning 27-18. On Sunday, the Giants would travel to Dallas to play the Cowboys. After a very back-and-forth game, the Cowboys would come up on top in OT, 40-37. Later that night, the Eagles would take on the Chiefs in a Super Bowl rematch. The Eagles would win that game 20-17. In a win against the Jaguars, Joe Burrow would get injured with turf toe and miss the next 9 games. Week 3 was filled with beatdowns. The Vikings beat the Bengals 48-10, the Colts beat the Titans 41-20, the Commanders beat the Raiders 41-24, the Panthers shut out the Falcons 30-0, and the Seahawks beat the Saints 44-13. The Buccaneers continued an unbeaten season with the win against the Jets, who are still winless at this point. After starting Russell Wilson for 3 weeks and picking up 0 wins, the Giants decided to start Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterboo against the LA Chargers in Week 4. Now, Jackson Dart had a lot of pressure coming into this game. Previously mentioned he had a crush on Madison Beer, and Justin Herbert, the Chargers quarterback, is her boyfriend. And Dart delivered. He scored a touchdown, and the Giants would get their first win of the season in LA at the cost of a league neighbor's ACL tear. After 3 games unbeaten, the Colts and Bucks would both suffer their first losses against the Rams and Eagles. The best game of the week was the Packers at the Cowboys, which was taken in overtime and ended 40-40. The Ravens went to Kansas City to play the Chiefs, and Lamar Jackson would suffer a hamstring injury that put him out for about a month, and the Ravens would go on to lose that game. Week 5 would kick off with another overtime thriller, with the 49ers coming out on top against the Rams 26-23. The Colts and Bucks went back to business as usual, both winning their games, and it was about this point where the Super Bowl was going to be the Bucks against the Colts, and Baker was going to get MVP. But none of this actually happened. The Jets remained winless, and the Titans got their first win of the season with rookie quarterback Cam Ward. Week 6 would kick off with the Giants winning 34-17 over the reigning champions, the Eagles, with a Jackson Dart touchdown and 3 from Cam Scatterboo. The Jets are still winless, the Colts and Bucks keep winning, and Myles Garrett had 5 sacks on the season. In Week 7, the Jets would lose again, and the Colts would win again, but the Bucks would lose, bringing them to a 5-2 record. In the NFC East, the Cowboys would beat the Commanders in a dominant win, 44-22. In a game that was great for everyone except Giants fans, the Broncos would come back against them, scoring all 33 of their points in the fourth quarter, starting the quarter down 19. Week 8 would bring the Jets their first win of the season against the Bengals, putting them at a 1-7 record. In a rematch of game 2 weeks prior, the Eagles beat the Giants at home 38-20, with Cam Scatterboo dislocating his ankle, putting him out for the rest of the season. I feel like I'm saying this a lot, but the Bucks and Colts both win again. Myles Garrett would record 5 sacks against Drake May and the Patriots, despite a loss. In Week 9, the Colts would lose, and the Bucks had a bye. It's around this point where both teams lose their run of form, so we're going to stop checking in on them every week. The Bears would beat the Bengals in a very high-scoring 47-42 game. The Jaguars would scrape out an overtime win over the Raiders, winning 30-29. In the annual Chiefs-Bills game, the Bills would win as always, but they could never beat them in the playoffs. J.J. McCarthy would refer himself as 9 in an interview, and was immediately clowned for it. Week 10 would start with the worst game of the season, with the Broncos winning 10-7 over the Raiders. In one of the worst games in terms of the teams playing, the Jets would record their second win of the season over the Browns, and Garrett is standing at 11 sacks. I know I said I stopped talking about the Colts, but they won against the Falcons in a back-and-forth overtime win. No matter how bad the Dolphins get, Tua always manages to light up the Bills' defense, and the Dolphins won 30-13. In Week 11, the Commanders would take on the Dolphins in Madrid, taking the game to overtime, and the Dolphins would win 16-13. With Jackson Dart out with the concussion, the Giants had to play their third quarterback of the season, Jameis Winston. They'd put up a good fight against the Packers, but Jameis would throw a pick in the end zone and the Packers would win. The game in Madrid wasn't the only one to go to overtime. The Panthers would beat the Falcons 30-27 in OT as well. The first Sunday game in Week 12 would end with the Chiefs' overtime victories over the Colts. In Jameis' second game with the Giants, they would play the Lions, he would throw a pick, but the Giants' defense would get the ball right back, but it didn't matter. The Lions won in overtime, and the Giants were the first team to be eliminated from playoff contention. The third OT game of the week would end with the Jaguars' win over the Cardinals. The Eagles played the Cowboys in Dallas, where the Eagles would take a 21-point lead, but the Cowboys would come back winning 24-21, and Tom Brady said this.
Starts to pump, and Odighizuwa just blasting through Nicker. Whoa. Hey.
The Thanksgiving games will take place in Week 13. In the 3 games that day, the Packers would beat the Lions, the Cowboys would beat the Chiefs, and the Bengals would beat the Ravens. The Jets would surprise with the win over the Falcons, the Seahawks would shut out the Vikings 26-0, and the Bears would lose again in overtime, but to the Broncos instead. The Titans would go to Cincinnati to play the Browns in Week 14, in one of the worst games in terms of teams. The Titans would win 31-29, and Myles Garrett would record 1 sack. After a promising season with the Colts, Daniel Jones would go down with an Achilles injury, putting him out for the rest of the season. After getting shot out the week prior, the Vikings would shut out the Commanders 31-0. The Raiders would walk all over the Cardinals, and the Texans would beat the Chiefs 20-10, and the same team that won 2 Super Bowls in a row are now 6-7. On Monday, the Chargers would beat the Eagles by 3 in an overtime win. After beating the Ravens on Thanksgiving, the Bengals would get shut out by them in Week 15. At the same time, the Eagles would shut out the Raiders 31-0. The Bills would take on the Patriots in New England, and at halftime went down 24-7. But they had managed to come back, winning 35-31. The biggest news of this week was the 44-year-old man with 10 kids and 1 grandkid, Philip Rivers, would return to the NFL after almost 5 years, resetting his Hall of Fame clock and almost picking up a win against the Seahawks before a field goal win it for Seattle. In a game against the Chargers, Patrick Mahomes would suffer an ACL and LCL tear, putting him out for the rest of the season, and the Chiefs would have to play Gardner Minshew. Never mind. In Week 16, Minshew would get injured as well, and third-string QB Chris Olajuwon would have to play, and the Chiefs lost to the Titans. But other than that, the week would start with the Rams playing the Seahawks, and the Seahawks would win with a 2-point conversion in overtime. The night before, the Bears played the Packers in a rivalry game, and Iceman Caleb Williams would throw a touchdown to send the game to OT, and another to win it in OT. With Bo Nix having a chance to beat Russell Wilson's record of 24 wins in his first 2 seasons, the Broncos would lose to the Jaguars, giving them a chance at only tying the record. Week 17 would start with the Christmas games. The Cowboys beat the Commanders, the Vikings would beat the Lions, and the Broncos beat the Chiefs. The Patriots dominated the Jets, and the Ravens dominated the Packers. The Giants would trample the Raiders, losing them the first overall pick. In one of the lowest scoring games of the season, the Eagles will beat the Bills 13-12. The final week of the regular season, Week 18. At this point, most teams will rest their starting QBs or other important players that they don't want getting injured. The Texans would beat the Colts, making Philip Rivers winless in his second stint in Indy. The Browns would emerge victorious against the Bengals, and with just 1 sack all game, Myles Garrett would break the season sacks record with 23. The Giants beat the Cowboys, and I wish I could say this was a well-deserved win, but the Cowboys played Joe Milton for most of the game. The Chiefs played the Raiders in possibly Travis Kelce's last game in the NFL, but he couldn't score, and the Raiders beat the Chiefs, but got the first overall pick anyway. The last game of the week and this season was the most important for both teams playing. The Ravens would take on the Steelers, and whoever won went to the playoffs from their division. And a missed field goal by Tyler Loop would send the Steelers into the playoffs. The Jets would also end the season with a grand total of 0 interceptions. The first seed in the AFC was the Broncos, and the first seed in the NFC was the Seahawks. The first game of the wild card round was the Rams at the Panthers. Tyson Etienne would fumble on a fair catch, and the Rams would scrape out a 34-31 win. The Packers and Bears would play their rivalry game, and the Bears went down 21-3 before coming back 31-27. Sunday was pretty calm though. The Bills, 49ers, and Patriots would all win. And on Monday, the Texans would dominate the Steelers. In the divisional round, the first game, Bills at the Broncos, would end in overtime, with the Broncos winning 33-30, and Josh Allen would record 4 turnovers, including a controversial interception that would lead to the Broncos winning at the cost of a Bo Nix ankle injury. The Seahawks trampled the 49ers 41-6, and the Patriots would make light work of a great defensive team with no quarterback, and Harrison Mevis would win the game for the Rams over the Bears in overtime. The conference championships would bring the Patriots out of Broncos team without Bo Nix, and the Seahawks would play against the Rams at home. The Patriots nearly lost to the Broncos, even without Bo Nix, and the Rams fumbled their chance at a win against the Seahawks, which brings us to a Seahawks-Patriots Super Bowl. But before we get to that, there's the NFL honors. The winners would be Teteroa McMillan as the Offensive Rookie of the Year, Myles Garrett getting Defensive Player of the Year after beating the sack record. The Offensive Player of the Year was Jackson Smith-Njigba after a historic season. The MVP was 37-year-old Matthew Stafford, making him the oldest first-time MVP ever. And the Coach of the Year was Mike Vrabel after bringing the Patriots from 4-13 to a Super Bowl appearance. The Super Bowl would kick off with the Seahawks drive that led to a Jason Myers field goal. He would then score 3 more in a row, bringing the Seahawks to a 12-0 lead. Sam Darnold completed a pass to A.J. Barner for the first touchdown of the game. That would give the Seahawks a 19-0 lead. It took until the fourth quarter for a touchdown, and then the Patriots would score for the first time all game. Jason Myers would score a 5th field goal for a Super Bowl record, followed by a pick 6 from Uchenna Nwosu. The Patriots would score another touchdown, attempt a 2-point conversion but fail, and it would be nothing in the end as the Seahawks won the Super Bowl 29-13, and Kenneth Walker would get the Super Bowl MVP, ending a great NFL season.